Legacy isn't loud. Boy said his grandpa broke a world record in kickboxing. Someone whispered with a chuckle. The class burst out laughing. Even Coach Whitaker let out a sharp snort, failing to hide his smirk. But then, the gym door creaked open, and everything changed. Ethan Graves wasn't the kind of kid who enjoyed being noticed. He liked quiet routines, neat corners, and especially kick drills that ended with clean, precise form. No yelling, no showing off, just focus, breath, discipline. But attention had found him today, whether he wanted it or not. It was the first day of athletic week at Belmont Elementary, and the gym had turned into a chaos carnival. Posters of Olympic runners plastered the walls. A glittery plastic podium squatted beneath the scoreboard. And Coach Whitaker, known for his booming voice and middle school talent show energy, was already in full announcer mode. Today, he bellowed, arms raised like he was opening for a rock concert, we celebrate strength, speed, and stories that move us. Cheers erupted across the bleachers. Some clapped because they meant it. Some because everyone else did. Ethan sat quietly, cross-legged in the third row, eyes low, hoping no one would look his way. But then Coach Whitaker added, let's hear from you. Who has a family story that inspires? Maybe your mom was a track star. Maybe your uncle ran a triathlon blindfolded. Who's got one? Hands shot up immediately. My dad played football for Oregon State. My cousin was on American Ninja Warrior. She made it to the third obstacle. Laughter. Applause. The kind that felt good. Then Harper nudged Ethan. Tell them. You told me last week. Say it. He shook his head. She stared at him. Ethan, she whispered. Say it. He hesitated. Then slowly raised his hand. Coach Whitaker spotted him. Ethan Graves. Let's hear it. Ethan stood. Not tall, not loud. But he stood. My grandfather holds the national record for longest undefeated streak in kickboxing. 7 years. 183 wins. Silence. Not the respectful kind. The kind that means people are loading a joke. Then someone let out a long, sarcastic, whoa. Snickers followed. What, like, in Wii Sports? Must have been kickboxing against pillows. Then even Coach Whitaker chuckled. Not cruelly, but enough. That's quite a stat, Ethan, he said, handing the mic to someone else. Are you sure it wasn't, I don't know, a video game leaderboard? The gym howled with laughter. Ethan stood frozen. His fists clenched. His cheeks burned. He said nothing. Defending himself would only fuel the fire. Someone fake shadowboxed behind him. Look out. It's knockout Ethan. Even Harper looked down and bit her lip. Coach Whitaker raised his hands. All right, let's keep it nice. We love big dreams here. But it was too late. By that afternoon, someone had drawn a stick figure with huge gloves on the whiteboard by the gym. Above it, in red dry erase, Grandpa KO. Ethan walked past it without blinking, but his fist stayed jammed deep in his hoodie pocket. In the teacher's lounge, Coach Whitaker was still chuckling. Kid said his grandpa fought 183 guys. I teach PE, not Lord of the Rings. A teacher mumbled, hope the grandpa doesn't show up and prove you wrong. Whitaker snorted. I wish. Then at least the story would be worth telling. But he didn't know. None of them did. That morning, a man with calloused knuckles and a drawer full of medals had clicked open the Belmont School website. And when he saw Ethan's name listed under Athletic Week participants, something stirred that hadn't in years. Something that once roared in arenas and echoed through crowds. His name was Colton Steele Graves. And he hadn't forgotten. By second period, Ethan's story had mutated into a meme. A colored pencil cartoon had been taped to his locker, a waffle and boxing gloves knocking out a shadowy figure labeled Coach Cereal. Caption, serving L's since 1943. By lunch, the image had been scanned, digitized, stickered, and slapped on water bottles and notebooks. Fake stats floated through the hallways. 183 imaginary wins. 7 years undefeated in Minecraft. Ethan didn't protest. Didn't argue. He just moved slower, sat quieter, let it wash over him like rain with no umbrella. In gym class, it only got worse. Coach Whitaker ran cone drills, and when Ethan lagged behind, he boomed, come on, champ. Thought you had that kickboxing blood. The kids laughed. Another voice, let's go, knock out Ethan. The nickname stuck. At recess, 3 boys blocked him by the vending machine. One held a pencil like a mic, exclusive interview with the grandson of Punchosaurus Rex. How does it feel to invent a martial arts legacy? Ethan stared at the juice machine. Maybe next he'll say Bruce Lee babysat him, someone added. They didn't shove him. They didn't have to. Words land deeper when they're dipped in mockery. Back in class, Harper slid him a note. You okay? He didn't answer. At home, he tore the page he'd once proudly filled with Colton's stats out of his folder. Folded it 4 times. Dropped it in the trash? That night, he barely touched dinner. Colton noticed. You say it out loud? Colton asked. Ethan nodded slightly. Then it was a strong day, Colton said. Ethan frowned. I don't feel strong. Colton leaned in. Only brave people say true things in rooms that don't want to hear them. The next morning, the whiteboard drawing had grown. Now the waffle wore a championship belt. Coach Whitaker, sipping Gatorade, told the story again to a math teacher, laughing mid-sip. The kid just says it like it's fact. My grandpa's a world champ. I swear, if this keeps up, I'll need a stand-up slot. The janitor swept nearby, silent. When the room cleared, he glanced at the student list taped to Whitaker's desk, paused at one name, then walked away. Miles across town, in a garage filled with old gloves and older stories, Colton Steele Graves opened a battered photo album. It was Thursday, the day Coach Whitaker decided to make an example out of Ethan. Let's see what our very own kickboxing royalty can do, he announced, tossing red sparring mitts onto the gym floor. They skidded across the wood and landed at Ethan's feet. Ethan stared at them. The gym was silent, everyone waiting for the joke to finish writing itself. Ethan bent down, picked them up. The gloves were faded, too big. The straps flopped loose. Still, he slipped them on. He stood in the center of the court. His stance was clumsy. His eyes flicked down to his shoes. Try a kick, Whitaker called, voice mock excited. Ethan raised one leg and swung a low roundhouse. He slipped. Didn't fall, just stumbled. But enough. Ladies and gentlemen, Coach Whitaker cried. I give you the undefeated champion of tripping over air. The gym held. Ethan took off the gloves and set them down with care, as if they belonged to someone who deserved better. Then he walked back to the bleachers and didn't lift his head again. That night, he didn't speak a word at dinner. Just sat, stirring cold peas in a circle. Colton sat across from him. Didn't push. Just watched. Later, after Ethan had gone to bed, Colton went to the garage. Opened the metal trunk he hadn't touched in years. Inside was the past, worn wraps, championship photos, plaques. He pulled one out. Bronze, heavy, engraved, National Kickboxing Hall of Fame, longest undefeated streak in U.S. history, Colton Steele Graves, 183 wins. The next day, a visitor signed in at the school office. Visitor, Colton Graves. He carried a black case. At noon, the gym doors opened mid-assembly. The chatter stuttered. Laughter died. And walked a man in dark denim. Calm eyes. No swagger. Just gravity. He stepped to center court, opened the black case, and revealed a plaque that shimmered like a sentence too powerful to argue with. He turned it toward the crowd. Colton Steele Graves. National Kickboxing Hall of Fame. 183 wins. 7 years. The gym went silent. Even Coach Whitaker froze. Colton looked at Ethan, nodded, then turned to Whitaker. You train their bodies, he said, voice soft but carrying. I hope you also teach them what it means to keep their word, even when no one believes it. He placed the plaque down, turned, and left. No applause. No music. Just truth. The next Monday, things were different. Whitaker didn't crack jokes. The name Knockout Ethan faded into history. At lunch, someone asked, That really your grandpa? Ethan nodded. That's cool, the kid replied, and moved on. On Tuesday, a shadow box appeared near the gym doors. Inside, a pair of worn black gloves, one stitched with a tiny CN in gold. Below them, a brass plate read, Legacy isn't loud, but it always shows up. Ethan sighed, paused, then walked on, no longer trying to prove anything. Because now, everyone knew. And more importantly, he knew. And sometimes, that's the only proof that matters.